So there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about today. My son moved out of the house in spring. This weekend was my daughter. She moves out of the house in a couple of weeks. And my other kids, my older kids, are moving up north. And it's Tanya and I. And it's weird. The house is so quiet. I have several things that I want to talk to you about today. One of them is just about being a dad, because I don't even know what that means anymore. You get to this place, and again, it might just be me. But I didn't have a good dad. My dad wasn't there. My dad was always working. My dad taught me how to work. And he didn't do it by like, get after it. He taught me just by the way he lived his life. And he loved his job. He was passionate about it. But he also was passionate about putting food on the table and making sure the kids had everything. But I didn't have a relationship with my dad till I was 30. And I knew I was sacrificing my family to some degree. We all talked about it as a family, even the kids. Because it takes an all-in kind of thing to do this job. You're constantly working. The news never stops. It's 24 hours a day. You constantly are thinking because you have 3 hours of just running monologue to fill. And so your whole life becomes, in some ways, about this. You're not somebody who can just turn the job off. And I knew when we hit 2006 or 7 and I saw what was coming our way, I had a meeting with a family and I said, it's going to change everything in our life, good and bad. Do we want to do this as a family? And we said yes. And now that they're moved out, and I walk around in this big house, all this stuff, I've spent so much time thinking none of this was worth it. Because it's just stuff. And I walk around that house and I feel like all I miss, everything could be gone, and all I miss are the kids. I'm going to talk right directly to dads because maybe it's not like this for you, but it is for me. I didn't grow up with a dad who knew how to be a dad. I mean, at 30, my dad said, I don't know how to be a dad. He said, but if you will sit with me through those uncomfortable moments where I don't know what to say to you, and maybe you don't know what to say to me, we can find our way together. And we did. It's weird because, you think as a dad when the baby's first born, mom gets the look in the eye every time she breastfeeds. I mean, God is just so amazing. He just built a milking machine where the child has to look at the mom's face. It's crazy. And they bond. And for a while, after you have a baby, you're like, all right, well, I'm not needed here, I guess. You are, but you don't get that same thing. And that continues for a long time. I mean, you could be there with a whole hospital of stuff, but mom, I need mom. And then there's this brief moment, I don't know, maybe about 7 or 8, maybe it goes to 12 or 13, where dad becomes a little magical. And you think, I love this. But then they hit the teenage years, and you're both garbage. And now, as they move out, the phone rings for mom. And I'm not complaining because this is the way it was. This is the way I think this is the way it is in everybody's family. Mom will say, "Do you want to talk to your dad?" "Sure." And you talk to dad for a while, and it's kind of uncomfortable and weird at times. But you don't call mom. You call mom. You don't call dad. And to be honest with you, I feel a little ripped off. I feel, and I'm only saying this in the time that I'm living in right now. I know this changes. I hope it changes, but it changed with me in my 30s. You're kind of like, as a dad, you're kind of like, yeah, I wasn't home all the time because I was making sure that we had X, Y, and Z. And so you feel like at the end of the race, you're like, didn't get it. I didn't get what I was hoping for. And that's the biggest problem. When have you ever gotten what you were looking for? When have you ever gotten? I think that's the problem, is I don't know what I expected. I know what I hoped. And my wife keeps saying, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I wasn't close to my dad. But it's really frustrating because I understand my dad so much better now. And I wish he was around so I could tell him that. You know what I've come to? And I don't know if we can apply this. That's where I'm going to try to do. Apply this to everyone I meet. What I figured out about my dad was he was doing the best he could do. When you come from an abusive family, my father was abused, his father was abused. My dad tried to stop the abuse, and he did to some degree, except he became his mother, who was just the receiver of the abuse. It's really hard, and it takes generations to stop it. And I really believe that families, to really turn a family, takes generations. I see these families who have been great for generations, and they're amazing, amazing. And I don't know if you can turn a family around that fast, but because you have to change so much. And I don't know about you, but as a father, as a parent, most of the time I'm bluffing. I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea. Tanya and I look at each other all the time like, do not let the kids see that. And I guess how can we expect someone to look at us and saying, he did the best he could? He really tried, and he really failed, but he was doing the best he could. How can we expect that if we're not giving that to everyone we meet? And I think that's hard. It was hard for me because I didn't live my dad's life. I just saw what he was doing, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? He was busy trying not to be his father. That's why. And it took everything in him not to be that. And I may have spent too much of my life trying not to be that, and not enough of my life trying to be what I wanted to be. And my excuse was, I think, is I've never seen it. I don't know how that is. I don't know what that is. So I look at the news today and I see, hey, the CIA chief just came out and said, we got it dead to rights now. There's going to be an explosive announcement this week with all this documentation. And I looked at it and I went, and so what does that mean? Oh no, I can get upset. There's even more out there that condemns the people that have been doing all of this stuff, that they've been playing with our emotions since 2015, and they knew it the whole time, and everything was a lie. Oh my gosh, now I'm really upset. And because is anyone going to go to jail? Nah, probably not. There's so many things in this monologue I'm trying to tell you, and I don't know if any of it's coming through, but on that is, and I think it's all tied together, we have to just release the outcome. It doesn't mean we're not engaged, but it just means we have to stop wanting an outcome. We have to stop wanting people to go to jail. I don't know if I can do that. We have to stop wanting to be the perfect dad. We just have to take every moment and just do the next right thing. And I don't know how to do this because I am so future. I've always looked at the reason why I'm successful is that I can see over the horizon. I can point to and say, that's the destination. But I have to do that while relinquishing the outcome. And I've done it on some things. I've done it. I know when I know what I'm doing is what God wants me to do, I can release the outcome. Because I know whatever it is He's got for me, it's going to be fine. And maybe we're living under a bridge, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be exactly what we want, and it's all going to lead to joy. But when I don't do that, when I don't release the outcome, I am caught in this horrible place of just second-guessing everything. What did I do? What did I not do? How could we do this? How can I make that happen? What a waste of time. I have a lot to talk to you about today. Hang on, we'll be back in a minute.
MLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 starts at 6.799% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 800-906-2440 for details about credit costs and terms.
Everybody has that one drawer, you know the one. Stuff with old batteries, random cords, maybe a phone manual from 2008. It's really where all good intentions go to die. Well, for a lot of people, it's kind of like what their debt looks like. A mess of credit cards, rising rates, maybe a second mortgage, all jammed together with no real strategy for fixing anything. This is where American Financing can help you find ways to clean out that financial drawer. The mortgage consultants look at your whole financial picture, what you owe, what you make, and what you want your life to look like, and they'll help you refinance or consolidate into a plan that actually works. There's no pressure, no hidden fees. No, we'll get back to you in a few weeks. They work for you, not the bank. And when they're done, you may find yourself paying off debt a lot faster, saving hundreds a month, or finally catching a breath between paychecks. The average listener that calls and tries to get them to help with their finances saves about $830 on the average every single month. That's a lot of savings. So tackle the drawer. Just start with the stuff that actually changes your life. American Financing, 800-906-2440, 800-906-2440. It's americanfinancing.net. 10-second station ID. So my niece and nephew are in town. They're staying with us. And they brought their son, Owie, who I just love, Owen. And he's 4 or 5. I don't know. Right? A good uncle. Anyway, so we're driving in the car yesterday. And he's just having a blast in the car. And we're looking at the airplanes as they're flying over and everything else. And he said, "Are you happy?" And I said, yeah, I logically think to myself, am I happy? Yeah, I'm happy. I said, "Are you happy?" He said, "Yes, I'm so happy." And in that moment, I went, I want to be like that. Not even think about it. Are you happy? Yes. And we lose that as kids. And I think it's because they don't have to think about the future. They're living in the moment. And I don't know yet how to balance that. But I think that's the only way to live your life. And I don't mean be irresponsible. I don't mean just, don't pay attention to the bills or to the world or to the whatever. You have to do that. But relinquishing the past to the past, relinquishing the future to the Lord, and just doing the right thing in the moment, because that's all he was. I said, are you happy? Yes, I'm so happy. These crackers are so good. I mean, it was like joy for the cracker that he's had 1,000,000 times. These crackers are so good. I said to my staff this morning, I said, I think this is what the torch is supposed to be. Because I don't know exactly. I'm just doing what I'm told to do. And I think this is the reason that I'm supposed to make this gear change in January. Is I'm supposed to create something that talks at this level, and it's, I can't wait till next hour, because I was writing something this morning, something that I found from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He wrote in 1943 from prison, and it just so explained what's going on in today's world on both sides. And then Ricky, my producer, she said, "Hey, by the way, I just sent you something that was posted on social media. Did you read it?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't see it." And she said, "Read this." And the two go hand in hand as a solution. One is, hey, here's the problem. And the other one is, oh my gosh, look, that's the solution. Coming up.
This is Glenn Beck.
You know what the most expensive thing in the world is? It's not a private island or a diamond the size of a Volkswagen, although that would be good. The most expensive thing in the world is not acting. It's putting off dealing with more important things like the pain you're living with until the world shrinks down to a couch, the doctor's office, whatever you can endure for 5 minutes at a time. And the worst part is, it probably doesn't have to be that way. Relief Factor is not a magic cure-all, but it is a scientifically designed drug-free way to tackle the inflammation that is often the root of your pain. At least it is for so many people, and it's been a life changer for so many people. It's not just a theory, it's for your actual daily life. People got their mornings back, their walks, their hobbies, their laughter, even the dumb little things like being able to get off the floor without sounding like you're dying, or, become a victory of just getting off the floor. I began taking Relief Factor years ago for my own pain, and I have to tell you, it's changed my life. You can get their 3-week quick start. Get it right now and give it a try for $19.95. ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. 1-800-4RELIEF. It's ReliefFactor.com. Get your life back.
Get all the updates on the torch and everything else going on at glennbeck.com. Get the free email newsletter, glennbeck.com.
So I had another revelation this weekend. It was a heavy dad learning weekend for me on so many levels. But Cheyenne, I've called her Lucy her whole life. Because when she was, she practically came out Lucille Ball. She has been funny her whole life. Hysterically funny. And such, like Lucy, so innocent in her comedy when she was young. She didn't know. She was just funny. And then as she grew up, I sat there and I watched her at 4 years old, going to these ballet recitals where I just wanted to claw my eyes out. I couldn't take it. I just couldn't take it. And she had Russian ballet. There's this place that we live in, one of the suburbs of Dallas, and there's this Russian ballet dancer and her Russian ballet dancer daughter that give lessons. Oh, if you want to have your kids come back with bloody feet, they are very good at doing that. What do you mean your kids cannot come to? Okay, no, nothing. You're afraid the Russian mafia is going to come after you. And at 4 or 5, the kids are like, Dad, the Russian mafia is real. So she went through this, and we'd go and watch these ballet performances, and I just wanted to claw my eyes out. And but I would watch her, and her mom and I would sit, towards the front, and we would just look at her like, smile. She was just so intense. And she's like, yeah, you smile. I've got the Russians behind me. Anyway, and then she got into musical theater and everything else. And this weekend was her last performance at this local community theater. And she was one of the Bowery boys in, what's that called? I saw it 4 times this weekend, and now I can't remember. No. Oh, jeez, it'll come to me. Anyway, so she was in this show, and I watched her the whole time. I went 4 times, and I watched her the whole time, and she did not lose focus or drop character once. And every moment she was giving it 100%. And it was amazing to watch, 100%. And she was just so accurate with every move, and she was amazing to watch. At least I know you've got kids too, so give me a second just to brag on my daughter for just a second. And I thought, I can't wait to see her. I wish in this show she had the starring role, and she did too, but she got over it, that day, and she was like, it's going to take me a day to, mourn. It's good to take a moment just to mourn for, what could have been, and then I move on. And she did, and she amazing. And at intermission at 2 of the shows, 2 parents came up to me and said, I want you to know the difference your daughter made in our son or daughter's life. Because it's a community theater, and it focuses on kids. And one of them said, our son just didn't feel like he belonged there, and got a role and couldn't do it, and was worried that he just was going to look stupid and not fit in. And he was sitting out at a curb, and he was, wanting mom and dad to come pick him up. And they said, your daughter came out and sat on the curb and said, I know how you feel. And just talked to this kid. And they said, 2 parents, the pivotal moment in their life, I think, is going to involve your daughter, because it totally changed their perspective. Somebody else said pretty much the same thing. This kid had to hit a high A, and he was having a hard time. He couldn't hit it. And Cheyenne just took him and said, you can do this. You are blocking yourself from doing it. You're afraid of that note. You can hit that note. Just hit that note. Just stop thinking about it. Just hit the note. I know you can hit that note. You know you can hit that note. Hit the note. And he hit the note, and it was amazing. And his parents came up and said, same thing. And I'm listening to them. And you know me well enough to know just tears running down my cheeks. And I thought, honor. I wish I would have known what I knew then from those parents, because I wanted to bring her honor cords, for graduation. They always have honor cords, and this is not graduation, but this was her last performance with this group. And I so wanted to bring her honor cords because I thought, she's graduated with honors. She wasn't the lead role or anything else. She found a way, and I don't think she views it this way at all, because it's just who she is. I am more proud of her for what she's done backstage. I mean, she was on stage, and in character, she saw one of the kids, they had their shoe untied, and it's a lot of dancing. And in character, she kneeled down to tie the kid's shoe. I mean, she's constantly like that. She gets it from her mother. And I think sometimes, to turn this around to us, when we are so set on our outcome is to be the lead. Our outcome is to do this, that we miss the moment and we miss what's more important. There's only one lead in a show, every show of life. There's a lead. You may not be the lead. So what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you complaining that you're not the lead? And I mean this in every situation. It's not just, whatever. It's every situation. Is the role of support even more important than maybe the lead? Because the lead gets all the applause. But the ones that make the real difference are the ones behind, that support that one. And that doesn't normally get the accolades, which makes me think, why are you doing things that you're doing? If you want the credit, you'll get the credit here, and then, good luck upstairs. Where if you're doing it just because it's right, or in her case, it's just who you are, what a great accomplishment that is. And maybe nobody notices. Maybe no one notices. But how game-changing can each of us be quietly? I think it goes back to not wanting outcomes, I think. I don't know if any of this makes sense to you, but maybe someday it will. Maybe you're not that place in your life. Does this relate to you with your kids and because you're behind me about 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. You think about this stuff all the time. As a parent, you attempt to have an impact that's positive, and you have no idea whether you're doing it or not, and you don't know whether you're supposed to care about what the reaction is or not.
That's the part that's getting me, is like, I care about the reaction, and I'm like, you selfish SOB. Right. What? It's not about you.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, but yes, it is. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well, it kind of is, right? It's about every person has self-interest. There's nothing wrong with that. You want those things to align, ideally, right? And that's a good way for them to align, right? You're doing a good job, hopefully, for your kids, and that they appreciate it, and wouldn't that be wonderful?
Do you think our grandparents thought like this?
Probably not, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, our grandparents did some things that were absolutely incredible. I think maybe we've figured out some things, too, from that experience that maybe has improved it. I think there's ups and downs from that.
It's just, because I was thinking, one of the problems that we have with the youth, we were talking about this earlier today, about when you get married. What were you talking about?
There's that really interesting new study that just came out about marriage rates, and there's that typical thing that everyone says, 50% of marriages end in divorce. And what they're finding now is that is just a really outdated statistic. There was a time where that was true, but it is no longer true. In fact, the people who are getting married most recently, which the decade of the 2010s, where they have any research on this, it's trending. The rates are of parents or of families staying together are better than every decade since the 50s. Only the 50s has a better rate of staying together. Every other decade, we are outperforming them now. People that have been married in the 2000s, 2010s. And there's a bunch of different, there's a really interesting argument there between, what the reasoning for that is and how you should think of marriage, which is part of the reason why that's true is that, researchers believe because people are getting married later. Right? They're not necessarily going into marriages really early and then maybe marrying a high school sweetheart and realizing that wasn't the right thing for them long term, and those led to more divorces. Where now they call it the foundation versus capstone debate. So like, is marriage a foundation of your life that you get into early and it's the entire building block, or is a capstone where you go through, have a bunch of life experiences, maybe build a career, do things that you maybe are more frivolous early in your 20s, and you get past them, and then you get to a place where now I'm really thinking about that, and I want to settle down and get married and have kids. And the way of that sort of debate between them, there are positives on both sides of it. I don't think it's an easy answer, as I do think I was a better dad in my late 30s than I would have been in my early 20s.
Oh, I was.
But you went through it both times.
Yeah, I went through both, and I was. However, I don't think that it is that you have to wait to get married. I'd like to go the other way. Have you met the next generation? Have you spent? Well, yes, you have. They're living in your house.
A couple of them are. Yeah.
The new generation is different. They're just different. The 15 to 25-year-olds, there's a real difference in that group. They're more responsible. They're less whiny about things. They understand things in a deeper, different way. It's really remarkable.
That's interesting, because I think the standard critique of now it was always about millennials, which when you're talking 15 to 25, you're in Gen Z.
Yes,
there,
Gen
right?
Z.
But the typical complaint was that they were whining about everything.
Yeah. Well, and here's the interesting thing. I think that it's not that. It's not that we got to wait to get married till you're 30. No, you should. I'm really. I get playtime, and playtime is important throughout your life. But shouldn't we expect more from our kids than playtime? I mean, when you go back in history and you see what kids accomplished, what life was like, and how they went out and they were interning, or they were not interning, they were, being shepherded, apprentice, when they're 12 and 13. We don't expect as much from our kids. And maybe one of the things we have to do is start expecting more from our kids. Maybe we need to be, you need to grow up a little bit, still enjoy your life as a kid and everything else. But I mean, why do we talk to a kid at 13 or 15 the way we talk to them when they're 10 and expect the same things? Why don't we expect them to be, bar mitzvahs? How old do you have to be for 13? That's when you become a man. Who thinks of 13-year-olds as becoming a man? And yet I see people who are homeschooled and they have been, they may work out on a farm or something with their parents, and they're expected to do it just like we were expected to do it when we were kids. And then I guess maybe my generation was like, I don't know, maybe we should, I want them to be kids and have that childhood. Well, maybe we're screwing that up now that we say kids are kids until 26. I heard one group now scientifically say, oh, you know what? Adolescence ends when you're 30. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. All right, back in just a minute. Let me tell you about the Byrna launcher. Been telling you about this for a while now. You've heard me, and you've heard me tell you why I love it so much. It is legal in all 50 states. It doesn't require a permit, and it gives you a non-lethal way to defend yourself and your family that actually works. But here is the great thing. The original Byrna launcher, as great as it is, they've now outdone themselves. They have the Byrna compact launcher. This is a real game changer if you want to carry it. Same pepper and tear gas projectile, same incredible sting ball that impacts and stops an attacker in their tracks. But now it's in a frame that is smaller than a Glock 19. It's lightweight, it's concealed easily, and the CO2 canister is compact, and it stays sealed until the moment you fired, which means you can load it and leave it, and it's ready when you need it. In a world that's getting crazier and crazier, Byrna launcher makes more sense than ever. Byrna, BYRNA.com, BYRNA.com. Learn more. Try before you buy at Sportsman's Warehouse location near you. It's Byrna.com. Go there now.
This is Glenn Beck.
You've locked your doors. You've got an alarm system. Maybe your entire property is dotted with cameras from one end to the other, inside and outside. But there's one kind of break-in you can't see coming because it doesn't actually happen at your physical house. Instead, it happens at the county recorder's office, and that's where your home title lives. And if a cybercriminal forges your name and transfers that title to themselves, they can take out loans against your house, draining the equity that you've spent years building without ever stepping a single foot on your property. Probably won't even know it happened until the collection notices show up, or worse, you get foreclosure warnings. And the truth is, most banks and credit cards and monitoring services and even homeowners insurance programs don't protect you from this. That's why I need Home Title Lock. They consistently monitor the title of your home, the deed itself, and anyone tries to mess with that, they alert you immediately, and they help shut it down before the damage spreads. Because it's not just four walls and a roof, it's your home, and protecting it means guarding everything, even the paper trail. AI right now, of course, is changing the world. Do not let it change the name on your home's title. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and protect yourself. This is something that's so fundamental to your long-term legacy when it comes to your finances. It's what you're passing down. It's what you've probably built your retirement on. Protect it with Home Title Lock. It's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BLAZE. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code is BLAZE.
Let me tell you, there's a story in the show prep. You can get our show prep free at glennbeck.com. Just sign up for the daily newsletter. You get about 50 to 70 stories a day. And in there is a story about how people are moving to blue states because they think they can get benefits from those states, and they're more stable in benefits. Good luck, blue states, with balancing your budget. Good luck.
This is Glenn Beck.